who are with us in the studio. There are lots of live blogging activities that are also going on. And I'd also like to thank Talha Zafar for allowing us to be part of something bigger than we are and making it a digital series rather than going from university to university. So, of course, and don't forget bloggers, please use the hashtag TNSDigital. So, hi Faiza, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Is this your first web series?
It's my first web series. It's a bit daunting.
Yeah.
It's a bit
and
daunting.
Tell me, is this your first?
Can we request you to do an intro again? We have a sound glitch.
Ah, okay. Now it's working? All right. So, ab to sabko yaad ho gaya. Now you can be Rabia and be this. So we do it again?
Yes.
All right. So, take two here. Welcome to the Campus Connections digital series. This series is being hosted by the New Spaces, and today we are talking about startup or job, which one is better for you? I'd like to welcome our guests, Faiza Savul, who's the Talent Acquisition Manager at ICI Pakistan, and Talha Izhar, who's the founder of Bakeware. So we've got a corporate perspective and also insights into the entrepreneurial space. My name is Rabia Gharib. I am the chief editor at the New Spaces. And so, as you know, the Campus Connections series has gone across a lot of universities, creating a lot of engaging discussions between the industry and the academia. And this is the digital version. We have a lot of universities and students logging in through their various labs. So we look forward to having their questions. Again, if you have a question specifically for Faiza or Talha or either, we'd be more than happy to make you part of the discussion also. Before I begin today's discussion, I'd like to give out a warm shout out to the co-founder of the New Spaces, Talha Zafar. She's sitting on my right. And it was her brainchild to convert the Campus Connections into a digital series so that more universities and more people could benefit. In our studio today, I'd also like to welcome the bloggers and representatives from various universities. Again, the more we get the word out and the more we work together in getting these discussions up and about, the more benefit more students will be able to bring. So again, just a reminder, please use the hashtag TNSDigital. So Faiza.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. And this is your first web series.
This is my first web series.
And
it's strange. It's a bit daunting.
Yeah.
I'm a bit nervous.
Okay.
I feel like a student now.
Well, hopefully the pace of the discussion will be such that there won't be time for nervousness. As Talha knows very well that I ask very pointed questions and keep poking you until you answer.
And I'm nervous because of that. I
yeah,
know that.
That doesn't help.
आपने तो अपनी आस्तीनें भी ऊपर कर दी
वो तो मैं आऊँगा मैं.
Bilkul. So, by the end of the discussion today, what I think we would like to do is kind of give students a clearer idea into choosing their career path. All right. So, it is said that a startup or being an entrepreneur is something that all of us must experience. But on the other side, we also are told that being part of corporate organizations is also something you must go through. Which do you think should come first? While a student is studying, let's say when they start up university, when they begin their university career, should they start something on the side as an entrepreneurial venture because that's a good time for them to experiment? Or should they forcefully look out for internships and get the corporate experience while they are still studying? And if I could get your input from both.
So I've always been of the opinion that you need to at least go through at least one or two increment cycles or the performance appraisal cycles at any other place.
All right.
It helps you to appreciate the whole exercise and the whole process, whether your heart was broken because your increment wasn't as good or something else.
Right.
But at least you'll get to know how the world really works. Right out of universities, a lot of students would want to start their companies, but one of the things that they don't realize is that the experience or their education has been one-dimensional. For example, for a technology student like me, if I had started right out of university, it would have been very one-dimensional. I knew how to program, but I didn't know how to write good programs.
Right.
I knew what to do, but I didn't know how to do them, how to do all of it. I didn't know accounts much. I took a course and that was it.
Right. So the exposure as to where you fit within an entire organization is something that experience would
Yes,
give.
and another thing is that you also experience who you really are.
Right.
Once you start working somewhere, whether it's a technology company or any bank or any other company, you actually see whether you're passionate about it or not. And the more you try to realize who you really are, it helps you become a better person, a better professional, and potentially a better entrepreneur.
Right. But Faiza, just to follow up on Talha's line of discussion that he started. So as in university, you start off as a specific discipline. So whether it's business, engineering, something else, and then you go into the corporate side and you try and get the experience. Do you feel that experience is rich enough for you to figure out, oh, this is something that I want to do for the rest of my life? Or do you think it's still very basic and native?
Okay, so I'm just going to come to your first question
Sure.
first, and maybe that'll give you perspective on how I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So I have a slight disagreement with Talha.
Great. Perfect.
You know, and given that I am from the corporate background, but I've interviewed so many students, so many people over the last few years. And what I've noticed is that there are tons of those who have their own business on the side while they're in university, and they're open to interviewing with corporates, so they want to actually come into a corporate. So they have a side business, either somebody's making shoes, or they're those boys who have like a little juice stall on campus, or they're those that, so there's somebody or the other doing, you know, various little things to earn money on the side, but also they are friends who've come up with an innovative idea and they want to make, you know, some name out of them while they're in university, and they have their own web pages and so on. And I've noticed that when I bring such people on board, they have a passion. They are not nervous about taking a risk. They, you know, and it's very important that passion comes out in the work that they do. So yes, maybe they'll work in the corporate for a few years and then they realize that, you know, that money that I earned without anybody looking down on me or breathing down my neck was fantastic, and I'd like to go back to it. But they also bring a very sort of enriching experience to the table for a corporate as well.
Are you actually saying that students studying at university can actually bring an experience or a flavor into the university?
They're their own individuals. They've learned the hard way.
Right.
They are those who failed. I mean, and absolutely okay to fail as well, right? So, you know, they bring a learning to the table.
Right.
And it's, I think, very important.
Do you think this learning has changed over time? That एक ज़माना ये होता था कि इंटर्न्स को आप हायर करते थे और उनको, जैसे हम कहते हैं ना वेरी क्रूड लैंग्वेज में, अब्दुल का काम करवाना, कि फोटोकॉपी कर लो, फाइलिंग कर लो, ये कर लो, कोड लिखा है तो अच्छा, हाँ अब इसको जाके डिबग करने का भी टाइम नहीं मिलता, मतलब just keep staring at this and to see if you can replicate. Do you think over time the corporate businesses have also understood that yes, students can actually bring something to the table?
So I think most large organizations, I can speak on behalf of a few, I can speak on behalf of my own.
Okay.
Before we actually go on an internship drive, we request all our managers to give us a brief of the project that intern will be looking out at.
Right.
Yeah? So the intern needs to be busy with something that adds value to his own learning, as well as adds value to the organization in one way or the other. So it has to be sort of like a 6-week project which they do. Once they complete it, they present it to the senior management, and then they get their letter.
Okay.
So a lot of companies work on that model, and a lot of companies then rehire back those interns as employees after.
All right.
So it goes into a data bank where they are expedited through the next process when they actually graduate.
Right.
So I think yes, times have changed. People do take this as a value. I think from the university perspective as well, a lot of universities also have now these externship programs where it's a mandatory requirement for a group of students to complete an externship together in an organization and then get their degree.
Okay.
So
whatever you're saying is very structured. कि ऐसे होता है, फिर ऐसे होता है, this is what the student gets. Therefore, I think you also get a great influx of a variety of that learning expertise.
Yes.
हमारे स्टार्टअप्स के माहौल में शायद इतनी लग्जरी नहीं है कि हम चीज़ें स्ट्रक्चर करें ताकि we actually get the interns that we need. हालांकि corporations may need the interns less because they're still, I mean, it's a very long interview process essentially. आप पहले जाते हैं, इस relationship establish करते हैं, अपने आप को prove करते हैं, फिर मुमकिन है कि once you're part of the database, then chances are likely that the corporation will call you back. How does it work for startups?
So one of the challenges that startups usually face as compared to corporates is we are not a big name. We're generally not very big names, and it's hard to attract somebody on the basis of who we are. But what we try to do is we attract talent based on what we do. It could be a certain technology, it could be a certain product, it could be a certain service that we provide that's attractive to the student. Secondly, what we look for is, personally, what I've always done is that we usually hire very fresh grads or very absolutely raw talent with basics, right? People who know their basics of programming or basic technology stack, and then we train them based on how we work. And that actually helps us. Okay, so a lot of people usually say, why don't you hire a senior resource so that you don't have to put a lot of time into training? But then teaching an 8 or 9 year experienced resource is harder than giving that fresh graduate that leverage or the liberty to actually learn and make mistakes and then grow right with us. So this usually happens. What happens is that a lot of people come in and leave in a 2 years or 3 years time span, but that's okay.
That's still a long time.
That's still a long time. And personally, I believe that we don't really have to, we have to increase the talent pool. If I keep on hiring experienced people based on my budgets, then I will not be increasing the talent pool and hence limiting my future ability to hire new people. So if I can hire somebody from a better technology company, it will save me at least a month. But then after a month, that person may go elsewhere as well. And unless I create an environment within the startup or within my company where we actually nurture them to go to a point where they're not afraid of making mistakes. My developers have actually deleted code for a product. And they were not fired because that was the first time they made a mistake, and we had a backup and it was easier to recover. We have had other instances as well, and I have made mistakes in my first 2-3 years, and my seniors never fired, never reprimanded me. They just explained to me what problems are going to come and then how we can not repeat those mistakes. And that's something that we give liberty to them, and then they grow.
But there's your time is up. There's always a trade-off that seems to be there. So a good company can be a large organization, it can be a startup which is doing very exciting things. But I think students are often in two minds, that which will give them the experience, and then they will also give them something more than a stipend, or give them ownership of their product. How do you work through those challenges, and what should students be looking at? Should they work towards entering a company which will give them the experience, or should they be looking at a company कि हाँ, हमें 30,000 रुपए भी मिल जाएंगे महाना for doing this internship?
Well, you know what? A lot of companies do give you that opportunity to.
30,000 is a little high for an internship, is it?
Oh,
so,
yeah. Setting a wrong precedent for me here. So a lot of companies do give an opportunity for students to actually come in, maybe not as interns, but when they join after they graduate, and work on new initiatives that they can call their own. They can bring that to the table as one of their achievements. So the mindset or the innovation thought process that a new graduate brings to the table is fantastic. And a lot of companies nowadays have that innovation programs, or they have new product development, or even for engineers, in the plants, that they are innovating or bringing new things to the table. So I don't think that it's just a startup that gives that opportunity to develop something from scratch. I think a lot of organizations are doing that too now.
Talha, money or experience?
So what we generally offer is so this is just, I'm talking from my perspective, and I've seen this happen across the country in certain companies as well. Many graduates who come and join a startup eventually become part owners or equity owners, and that's the biggest incentive a company would give. For us, because what we're trying to do is going to work in the future, and we may grow, so we would like to retain certain talent, and that talent can only be retained if they feel that they just don't have to feel that they're part of something bigger or they own it, but they actually own it.
Right.
So we offer them equity. We've had a manager who come in with us and he's worked with us and proved himself. Now he owns a certain percentage of the business.
Okay.
And I have personally seen examples of people becoming directors in companies once they grew and became a private limited from a proprietorship company. So the technology sector or the startup sector has these kind of opportunities as well. A lot of companies which are well funded, they pay you enough so that they don't have to offer, because their equity has already been eaten by the investor.
Of course.
So they don't have to give you that the equity. They would give you some stock offerings. So if we make money in the future, this is the percentage of the profits that you'll get.
Well,
So these are
corporates too. A lot of corporates,
corporates do that.
too,
Yes.
Stock options and all that.
Stock options are now happening in the startup.
There's actually a couple of questions which were sent to us through the various students earlier on. So I'm just going to read one of them, kind of adding on to the same discussion that we are having right now. So this gentleman writes, or this woman writes, I am an engineer from a middle income family. Good jobs are difficult to find and salaries are really low. More importantly, the work I find so far is really uninspiring. What would you suggest? What would you suggest starting a career in Pakistan or looking abroad?
Can I take that?
Sure, of course. Talha is very hesitant. He's like,
I let me take that because I might have a
I'm
different
pro our
opinion.
country. I say, we have a huge industry here. We've got large manufacturing units. We've got smaller ones. There's cottage. There's no shortage of places where an engineer could find work.
Right.
I say contribute to your own country. I say that initially, at least, take a dabble at it. Maybe you'll enjoy it. I feel that if somebody finds their work uninspiring, they might not have passion for it.
Okay.
That might be something that they maybe they're in the wrong profession to start off with. I mean, when I interview engineers or when I meet up with the fresh graduates who are from engineering schools, I think one of the biggest things that we test out in their technical interview is that were they from a household where the father said mera beta ya meri beti engineer hi banenge, or is it actually coming from the heart?
Right.
And when it comes from the heart, then it's not uninspiring.
Right.
So I feel don't look outside. It's not easy to find jobs outside the country either. Look within Pakistan.
Right. What about you?
I'll take a very similar stand, but I definitely say start working in Pakistan. There are definitely more opportunities. It's just a matter of looking right at the right places. आपको पता होना चाहिए कि आपने कहाँ पे अप्लाई करना है, आप पैशनेट किस बारे में. आजकल के लड़के लड़कियों के पास ये अवेयरनेस मौजूद है जो आज से 12, 13, 14 साल पहले नहीं थी. कि कौन सी कंपनी क्या काम कर रही है, क्या कटिंग एज काम हो सकता है और क्या नहीं हो सकता, और उनको उनके बारे में पता है. आई वॉज अ वेरी एवरेज कंप्यूटर साइंस प्रोग्रामर. आई वॉज अ वेरी एवरेज प्रोग्रामर. I got a job. If I can get a job, anybody can get a job. I come from middle class family. I do not come from a family of kings and royals, but I come from a middle class family and I had to find a job.
Right.
And it took me some time because I was an average student. All the companies were hiring with the dean's list students or the better people with better GPA. Mm-hmm. But I was able to find a job in a month. I was able to work there. I was able to find another job after that. I was able to find another job after that. And I have been working in the last 12, 13 years in Pakistan, and I have not faced this problem.
Right.
So what I've seen is that a lot of people, while I interview engineers and especially software engineers, they do have that problem that they don't want to know what's wrong, what went wrong. What happened in our case is, because we're a very lean organization, we tell them immediately why you're not getting selected for the job.
Right.
I would not waste my time or their time if the interview is not going to the plan.
Right.
I will tell them right there and then, these are the 3 things that you need to work on. Apply after a few months once you're confident. I'd be happy to interview you again, and we have interviewed such people again.
Okay.
I have met people on an escalator in a shopping mall who said, remember you interviewed me there and that was the toughest. I'm kidding you. I'm not kidding you. He told me that that was the toughest interview. In fact, I don't take very tough interviews. And that person told me that, you know what you told me in the interview, I improved those things and I got a job in this company.
Right.
And this actually works. I have not wasted anybody's time in this way, that if you're not making through to the next stage,
right,
I'll tell you right there.
So what do you look for in a candidate that comes to you?
So I generally look for 3 things: a positive attitude, honesty, and at least have that level of humility in you that you're not God, God forbid, you're not God, you're not an immortal,
right.
You're just a human, you're just so you have to see, you may have weaknesses and you should be able to learn. A lot of people I don't hire just because of the fact that they're not grounded.
Right.
You talk to them and then you see the body language and the attitude, it doesn't work well in our team.
Right.
And we don't hire them no matter whether they have a gold medal or not.
It's the same question to you, Faiza. What do you look for in a candidate? But I'm going to plant a question with you, Talha. So you've worked in jobs and then you took the leap into starting your own business. So at what point, if you can kind of talk us through how you became from an employee to a startup, what was that journey like? So, लेकिन फाइजा का जवाब पहले फिर आप सोच लें उसको.
So I'll build on what Talha said. I completely agree with what you said as well. I think positive attitude, humility is extremely important.
Okay.
For me, your interpersonal skills are also very important. So basically, how you sell yourself, how you show me your drive, how you interact with me during a discussion in an interview is very, very important. And of course the teamwork element also. So I usually like to touch upon various projects that you've done with teams and what your role has been in that, and that makes me understand if the person is an individual contributor, will work in silos, or would be able to connect at a bigger level in the organization. So so from teamwork, interpersonal, and the humility part of it.
For as far as interpersonal skills are concerned, in this interview I have failed because I'm not even looking at you. I'm just looking into a camera. But so always keep eye contact. That's a great way to show your interpersonal skills. Talha,
yes.
What was the journey like from becoming from working elsewhere, from working for somebody else to your own startup?
So I was a misfit in my first job.
Okay.
The reason I say that was after first week, I spoke in a meeting I was a part of, and I didn't know that I was not supposed to. And I pointed out a concern, and later on in the day I got an email that since this happened, you'll no longer be a part of that team meeting. I said, okay, no problem. So certain things happened, and I was not happy with the way resources were handled. Because in my computer science degree, I didn't just do my computer science electives, I also had done management, human resources, organizational behavior, accounts. So I had done some basic courses, so I knew the kind of things that one might expect.
Right.
And I was not happy with that. I didn't like how the resources were treated and how I was treated. So I was a misfit. I was a very outspoken person who had his whole family who started working, and they all had business. I was the only one with working in a job, going at 9 a.m., coming back at 11 p.m. and then waking up again. And my father was not happy with that. इतने पैसों के लिए क्या कर? But my father and family supported me. And then I realized one day while having dinner with my family, I said, I'm going to resign. And he said, कब से कर रहे हो? कल सुबह. ठीक है. And I went. This is exactly what I had no other jobs. The switch was flipped for some reason. I just couldn't take it anymore because the way a lot of resources were treated and the way they were coached was not right.
Okay.
So ever since then, I have become a pro open floor working environment, anti-cubicles kind of a person. Okay. I do not like that. I sit with my team still, and I still work with them. गुस्सा हो जाता हूँ थोड़ा, but I try to tell them how to work, what they should do. I do not interfere with their day-to-day work because I'd like to give them the freedom.
Right.
And things that I missed are something that I do.
Okay.
And that's actually what led me to start this company.
All right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Can I add to this?
Sure.
Something interesting about what you just told me. So I've always worked in a corporate.
Okay.
I started my career right out of university, but when I was on my maternity leave is when I decided that I'm going to have twins. I was going to have twins, and I decided that I need a break, and this is the time I need to go into my own setup. Yeah, so I set up a party supply store for myself.
A party supply store. All right.
It was my own setup. I was the entrepreneur. It was my way of doing things. I thought I enjoyed that, and my own timings and people working for me, and I hated it. Okay, I missed my paycheck. Yeah, I get a paycheck every month, first of the month, whether Things happen in the company or they don't happen in the company. We get new business or we don't get new business. I get money at the end of the day.
That's security. Job security is there.
And here I had to worry about salaries, and I had to worry about getting business, and I had to worry about, I have to go out there and I have to,
market and supply chain and everything. Yeah.
And I absolutely hated it. So I'm just saying, that's my thought out there. So I went back to work.
All right, but at least you gave it a shot.
I gave it a shot.
Because entrepreneurship isn't for a startup.
It's
It isn't
not for
everyone.
everyone. It's not for everyone.
You have to accept that you will fail one day. You have to accept that you will not be able to pay your own self.
Right.
You have to accept that you'll wake up one day and not willing to go to work. This will happen. This happens. It happens to all of us.
Right.
What I failed one startup, I have shut down my company. I gave up. I took a 3 years break and then came back.
Okay.
Why did I take a 3 year break? I had to get out of that. वो जो कहते हैं ना depression या
vicious cycle.
वो जो एक fatigue जो एक बन गई थी ना. When your company closes down, it hurts you really bad.
Right.
So it took me 3 years and an MBA to come out of it.
Okay.
In the meanwhile, I completed my MBA. So if somebody wants to know why would you do an MBA, well, for me it was an antidepressant.
Right.
It was very easy coursework, and I was able to enjoy my weekends while doing my MBA, and it helped me pass through that difficult phase, and then I came back.
That's actually great advice, and while I'm so tempted to make a joke out of it, saying that an antidepressant of an MBA is so much more healthy than just comfort food, but I won't go there. But no, it is something which is a real concern for startups and for people who run their own businesses, that there's that. You don't have that job security there, but it is a risk which perhaps at some point or another, when you can, you must take. Because until and unless you don't, it'll always be out there कि शायद मैं कर सकती, शायद नहीं कर सकती. But वो चीज़ है. कुछ सवालात आ रहे हैं. Irtiza Ali writes, I am a NUST graduate and I have tried every possible opportunity to get employment. I have been unsuccessful from the past 8 months. Can Faiza give me some recommendations? Though we've briefly talked about it as to that there are lots of opportunities, but perhaps you can address that.
I'm not sure.
I'm assuming this is an engineering student.
NUST has marketing as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure which area you're coming from, but if you're going with the assumption that yes, you are an engineering student, or be it whoever, I think when you go for an interview, do you take feedback? Do you ask them what went right, what went wrong? A lot of times you'd be surprised that what another person's perception could be of you. That's a good starting point to look at your own weaknesses or areas of improvements and build on that. So that's one way. I also suggest go out and find yourself a mentor. Talk about your passions, talk about what drives you, and see that perhaps the areas that you're applying for, there is a misfit between what you actually want and the areas that are out there. So look into these options and see if something works out. And like I said, there is so much out there. If a large industry is not working out for you, look at smaller organizations and then make a move from there.
Right. I'm going to expand on that, but there's also sure. Yeah.
When she mentioned mentors, it came to my mind. So what actually triggered in my case was I attended a seminar at Marriott. It was conducted by Jawad Fareed and Izhar, and ever since that session, they both are my mentors. And I still call them the reason why I quit my first job.
Okay.
So they made me start because what was discussed back then was 10 successful entrepreneurs from Pakistan technology industry talking about how they want to do things and how they've been able to do those things that they wanted to do while running their own companies.
Right.
That was one tipping point, you can call it, that made me actually jump ship.
Right.
That was the tipping. So having a mentor is very important. And secondly, you have to ask for feedback no matter where you are, no matter how big the company is, how small the company is. You have to ask for feedback. If they're not getting back to you in 2-3 days, call them, email them, ask for the feedback. They'd be happy to tell you.
Right.
I have never seen anybody asking for feedback.
Sometimes candidates ask me right at the end of the discussion.
Yes.
So
if that's it, yes, and take it positively. If it's been 8 months and you haven't found a job, try a little harder, at least introspect, see what's lacking.
In addition to what you were talking about, Faiza, and what you've also stressed the importance of mentors, networking is extremely important. Even as students, even as fresh grads, even us running businesses, we have to go out to networking events, and compared to even 10-15 years ago, now there's an event happening every week, every day, that you just register, go show your face, exchange cards, and learn what's going on out there. And if you keep your ears open, your wallet also tends to become a little bit fatter that way. There's a question, Saad is where? Saud.
What are the basic steps to follow for a startup?
What are the basic steps to follow for a startup? There it is, Saud Hamidani. What are the basic steps to follow for a startup? I'm assuming how to set up a startup.
Yeah, so this is a very, very open-ended question, and it will take hours if somebody wants to delve into that. So I would start by saying that you have to do your market research. I'm assuming you're a product startup. So you have to start with your market research. You have to know who your audience is and what problems are they facing. Most of the times what happens is that when a first-time entrepreneur starts a company, product company, they feel that because they're facing a problem, it's a big problem.
Right.
So you have to go out there, talk to the people who are doing that, who are your target audiences. Secondly, do not please start creating your products right away. Create a template, create a clickable model, and take it to your target audience if after your survey you found there's a problem. So that they're able to give you feedback on what exactly or how exactly do they want this problem to be solved.
Right.
And after that, there are many other steps as well. These are just first 2 or 3 things that I can tell you right now. But if there is a more specific question, I think it would be easier to answer very relevant details as well.
So Saud, if there's a follow-up question or if there's something specific that you are looking for, please do write and we'll try and address that also. Taking up on that, within the organization, Faiza, there's a concept of entrepreneurship that a lot of organizations encourage. Is that something that you find a lot of multinationals in Pakistan encourage?
Most of them do. I think it brings a type of an ownership into the process.
Right.
A lot of organizations are also looking to innovate, and this brings a fresh idea. It's interesting. Entrepreneurship is one word. Yesterday, I heard a word called skillpreneurship.
Skillpreneurship, yeah.
And that's bringing your skills to an organization or to a startup and making something out of those.
Right.
So just working along with your skills. So either concept, I think most of the companies are very open to this process.
Right. And if you have heard of the term skillpreneurship or entrepreneurship, do send us a shout out so we know what you are familiar with and what you are aware of. Coming to the CV process, because at the New Spaces and Toffee TV, Talia and I get hordes of CVs every day, and we know Khulkar, we look at it and we say, oh, reject or accept, reject shortlist, reject short. It's becoming increasingly easy. So we know what we look for in a CV, but I was wondering what the both of you look for that jumps out at you in a CV.
So first of all, experience. For us, GPA doesn't matter.
Okay.
As long as, because as a technology company, you need to know what you're doing.
Can you just look into the camera and say GPA does
not matter. If it did, I would be jobless.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Yeah. So I've been asked to leave in my university. I've been asked to leave the hall to take a job test because I was not above 3.2 GPA. So I have been through that insulting time, and it was not just me. It was 150 people. As a technology company from Pakistan, I never applied working with her, and privately I will tell a lot of people not to apply as well, because they generally people who go only after GPA.
Asking what was your GPA?
3.3.
No, it was less than 2.5. So I'm being very blunt. If I can tell you right now, I'll tell you 2.42. I have no shame in that. Because
ये तो इंटरव्यू अभी हम खत्म कर देंगे
मेरा दूसरा व्यू पॉइंट
अच्छा
my MBA GPA is a different matter.
All right.
So I was a kid back then. I was 17, 18 years old. So it's okay. You can make mistakes. I made one. It's okay. You don't have to follow me on that. मुझे जॉब मिल गई है, मुझे अच्छा लगता था, but then yes. Coming to the question. So CV में job के अंदर skills बहुत ज़रूरी हैं. Second is the experience. For a fresh graduate, we look for the final project.
Right.
And we do not know if the final project was actually made by the student or not. So once the student is sitting in right front of us, हम उनसे सवाल पहले पूछते हैं, बताओ final project में तुम्हारा क्या काम था? A lot of people in computer sciences, what they do is वो documentation करते हैं, नाम लिख देते हैं हमने किया.
Right.
So once we ask them, फिर उसके बाद skill sets की अगर बात करें तो databases, object oriented programming, this is small basic stuff. if you know all that basics right, and it doesn't matter if you don't know PHP. If you've done it in C++ or Java, it's okay. My best iOS developer was the one who had Android experience, and my best Android experience was the one who had an previous iOS experience in the university. So we didn't let them use their own skills. We put them both simultaneously in a tight spot for the first 2 months, and they over-delivered in terms of quality. So this actually works, that your skills, and please don't write anything that you do not know in your resume. In the first 5 minutes, we generally know if you're lying or not, and we'll tell you right away.
मुझे एक CV मिली थी किसी की who was applying for a networking job here, who said, I'm very good at printer networking. Configuration of printer networking. Anyway, so even that baffled me a little bit. What jumps out at the CV, and what is your...
So two things, my perception of a GPA and what jumps out in a CV. So for fresh graduates, for instance, you said that it's very easy to pick a good CV from a bad one. But Rabia, when you're looking at fresh graduates and you're looking at their CVs, I mean, they all look the same. Because they don't have the experience. They're telling you about what, little accomplishments they've done in their academic life. So it's hard. So from that perspective, I say talk about your internships, talk about your background, be very clear, don't stretch the truth, spell check, very important. Make sure that there are no spelling mistakes, your email address is not something completely insane.
Madboy@hotmail.com.
I've heard worse ones. So keep your CV professional looking, no spelling mistakes, write about your internship experience, and don't stretch the truth. So that's one thing. But as if you are coming in for a lateral hire and you have a few years of experience, maybe you're an MBA, right, and you've done 2-3 years, then yes, talk about your achievements and talk about your your work experience, but keep it to a minimum basis. Don't again go too crazy.
आप ऐसे spelling mistakes की बात कर रही हैं. Somebody recently applied to the news spaces for a writing position and misspelled the word writing. How is that even possible?
Classic. So GPA now, Regarding GPA, first job, it matters a little bit. Okay, it matters a little bit in your first job because you are competing against 8,000-9,000 students, and the company that is coming out to do the filtration needs some kind of a direction. At that point, the GPA would signify maybe your motivation to succeed. It could signify that you've put in your mind and your effort into something, but it's not a deal breaker. So companies are not hung up over 3.0 hai, 2.8 hai. It's when you come to the table and the way you sell yourself, what you bring to the organization, what differentiates you from the others that you're competing against, at the end of the day, yes, that matters a lot more.
For a lot of companies, they define it as this, that GPA doesn't matter, but when we get, so like I said, for Toffee TV and the news spaces, we get maybe 15-20 CVs a day, and we don't even publicize for that many positions. But it is actually the CV and the experience that just stands out, right? And the spell check. Those three things are things that we look for and say that, okay, shortlist, we look into this a little bit more, call them in for a test, give them a chance for a discussion. If you haven't even put in the effort to put out a CV that stands out from 15-20, मतलब आप multiply कर लें, हफ्ते के 7 दिन है, so 10 CVs a day, that's a lot of CVs to go through. So just to jump out and stand out from the crowd, you have to do something. But Talha, you have definitely gauged a lot of interest, because Mirza Abdul Wahab wants to know, so how did you get the job? No company nowadays is hiring a freshie having 2.4 GPA.
So correction, my GPA is 2.42, not 2.4. So
there we go. That's how he gets the job.
So you have to know the details. Second is you're looking at the wrong places, maybe. Or maybe your experience or your skill set is not as well suited for the organization as you think it was. And third is there's some part of networking that comes into effect. The first job that I got, I sent my resume. The project manager called me for an interview. It took 2 hours. We had a very detailed discussion. It didn't feel even like you can say an interview. It was a conversation, and I came back home and I was not happy about it, and I slept. And I woke up and I checked the email. There was an email that you have to come in for to get the job letter, offer letter. That was it. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you don't just have to leave it at that. Everybody gets a job. Anyone and everyone who wants to really, work, they will find work.
Right. So Faisal Vastani has asked, I want to ask, what are the primary steps to start your own business? We've touched on that.
Yeah.
So maybe after the session
A more
ends,
specific question.
yeah, if you have a more specific question, please ask. So there is a very specific startup technology company question that was sent in before we go into our rapid fire round. So startups, especially in technology, have a very low success rate. What are 3 things you would suggest to increase the chances of getting funded? And I will add to this, getting funded or getting noticed. So while this is still a student.
So getting funded is something I do not believe in. If you're starting a company just to get funded, आप अम्मी अबू से पैसे ले लें, you will be funded.
All right.
ठीक है. But if you're looking at funding, you have to first find the right product and take it to the right audiences. The funding will come to you itself.
Right.
You don't have to run after it. That's one thing. And please don't sell yourself short just because somebody's offering you some money and you've given them 51% of your company.
Right.
Don't do that. So that's one thing. Another is, आपने funding के बाद एक चीज़ बताई थी?
To get funded or to get noticed.
Okay.
Sustainability.
Yeah. So sustainability comes usually after 2 years, 3 years. It's not that easy for everybody. There are very few companies who've been able to do well in less than a year, but it's very hard to find. Not even in Pakistan, it's very difficult. So you have to be ready to put in hard work for 2-3 years at least before you give up.
Right.
At least give it 3 years, 2 years to 3 years. If your circumstances give you that much time, go ahead and do it. If not, that's one of the reasons why startups fail.
Right.
You have to keep on trying. You have to keep on challenging yourself. It doesn't matter what you're doing. What matters is how persistent you are.
Right. We have a segment in the on the session which is called a rapid fire. So you can't see this because I notice
Okay.
you've been eyeing my paper.
But I haven't though.
अच्छा you haven't. ठीक है.
Yeah.
फिर भी मैं छुपा दूँ.
Don't have the best eyesight.
अच्छा हाँ मेरी भी इसलिए तो मैं चश्मा पहनती हूँ. So I will give you one statement and let's see which whoever
Is it
wants.
buzzer?
It's a bell.
This is like
पुराने ज़माने की
current
concierge bell.
Yeah.
बिल्कुल. और अच्छी बात है कि your reflexes are very fast. So unless there are other questions, there are a couple more questions. So last call for any questions that university students have. Please feel free to post them and we'll address them while we do the rapid fire round. So what are the 3 most critical traits you look for in a fresh grad before you hire them? तो हाथ तो हटाएं, घंटी तो बजी नहीं बजी हाँ अब so Talha you lose there you go.
So fresh graduates में 3.
Who says life is fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
So repeat the question.
No.
Achha, let's go to another question.
No, 3
No,
things.
we go now. We've already done the 3 things.
Okay.
One.
Yeah, so there we go. So give an example of the worst personal statement in a CV that you have come across.
Okay.
I don't remember the statement exactly.
Yeah.
I remember somebody from University of Southern California sent me a 14-page CV.
Oh my God. That doesn't count.
And when we hired that person, when we asked that person to come in for the interview, we found out that the person didn't even do any of those projects. She was just part of the documentation team.
So
Okay, great.
my statement, it wasn't as. No, there's something wrong.
No, here. No. The gentle touch.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't a CV statement also.
Okay.
It was an interview statement.
All right.
When we asked about achievement, what's the biggest achievement in life? I got an answer saying कि मैं एक शादी में गया था लाहौर and my father said that today at 6 o'clock when we go for the barat, we all need new sherwanis. You know what? It was 12 o'clock. 6 o'clock, I had sherwanis ready for everyone. Not kidding.
So
this is real life.
Go
2018.
Okay, and this 10 years later, this is the startup. This is the beginning of my business.
Yes.
हाँ बिल्कुल 10 साल चला लिया शेरवानी का business चले. Next question, GPA or attitude?
Attitude.
She's so much faster than you.
Now that I've learned how to work.
All right, next, experience or money?
Experience.
Okay.
it will get you money.
वैसे
Yeah,
आप
it
भी
will get
बताओ।
you money experience.
अच्छा, सही।
Yeah.
मतलब okay, we have some incomplete advice to share with students. Complete the following pieces of advice so they can actually benefit. So it's kind of fill in the blank, okay? Your network is blank.
Your network is everything.
थोड़ा जोर का.
Your network is everything.
And GPA doesn't?
Matter.
बिल्कुल.
Doesn't.
Doesn't matter. Okay, next. Treat your co-workers.
Respect.
ये तो दो अल्फाज with respect.
Oh, मतलब.
अच्छा. So treat पूरा जुमला.
Treat your co-workers with respect.
When you don't know the answer to a question, blank.
When you don't know anything, confuse.
Admit. Admit.
Admit.
Yeah.
I like this one better.
So one of my friends told me this. So when you can't convince, confuse.
Huh. That's it. This is what you're trying to do to me now. And our last one is your first job should be.
Chef.
Your first job should be a chef.
No, to be very honest, it should be what you really love.
Your
Alright.
passion. Yeah.
So I lost count of who won, who rang what, and answered what. So if you know who it is, who should be the winner, just post it up on the chat. We have a couple last questions we're going to take. We have about 10 minutes before we log off. So Ainul Ahmed writes, I am already involved in my father's business. I am managing productions and marketing department there, and I am also doing a BBA from Ikra University. Please suggest how can I manage?
Now that's really up to you.
Yeah.
Your time.
So I think it's definitely up to you.
Yeah.
You have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
I think you can do both because
You
it's
should
your
do both.
because it's your own
Education is equally
it's your own
important.
business. You can definitely take out time for education unless you're not interested in education.
Of course. And if you're just doing it to meet people.
Yeah.
So
There
was
was
it?
an earlier question about primary steps for startup.
We did
Or
that.
you
We've done it.
We did that.
We've done that.
We did that twice. Itza Ali writes, would sugarcoating my achievements help? Also, Faiza, I
no,
hope
no.
ICI will send me some feedback for the video interview.
So sugar coating will never help you,
Never.
won't get you anywhere. So speak your mind, speak the truth. Where your question on video interviews are concerned, I think we'll send our feedbacks next week.
Yeah, so watch out, and if you don't, then just post it here and then we'll nudge Faiza again. Ashna Sheikh writes, does the university play an essential role in getting a good job opportunity, or is it the skills that matter?
I think both.
Yeah?
I don't feel very happy to say that, but unfortunately or fortunately, universities do matter. Unfortunately.
नाम यूनिवर्सिटी का
नाम
या
बहुत
सिर्फ
मैटर
एजुकेशन?
नो नाम मैटर करता है.
Okay.
जब आपको काम नहीं आता, एटलीस्ट वो आपको इंटरव्यू तक ले जाता है, और उसके बाद काम नहीं आता तो स्किल्स होनी जरूरी है.
Alright. आप लोगों
I'll defy the norms.
Yeah.
I feel, yes, I agree. That is the case here in Pakistan. It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be.
And I think that's why a lot of companies, including the one that I work for, have moved away from going to universities on drives. They now test through a social media platform where anybody can apply. If they clear the test and they come into the percentile that the company is working for, they get
That's
an
how it
equal
should be.
opportunity.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
how it should
That's
be.
how it should be.
and ICI is one of those
We
companies
are
that done
working,
that, right?
Absolutely.
In fact, you'll be starting your drives next week, you were telling me.
We have already started the process. Now we'll be doing the face-to-face next
All right.
week.
Do you have a drive, or do startups have a concerted effort where they go out and
So
actually recruit?
we don't we don't actually formally announce an opening.
Yeah.
What we do is people who are working for us, they are usually our best messengers out there.
Right.
And whoever comes through them, we filter them. Number one,
Okay.
it's easier for us because it validates their faith in us.
Right.
And we tend to get a much better suited person for the team.
Right. How to recognize the right time to leave your job and start your own company. We talked about it with reference to your experience. Tell us about a time when the candidate impressed you.
Many such times. I mean, it's just not one time. Like I said, if a candidate comes to me and talks about their achievements and what they've done in life and how they have given to the society, and they show me passion, they've impressed me.
Does CSR or volunteer work count for anything?
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
It does.
absolutely.
It does.
It shows that humility that we've talked
And
about.
maturity as well.
And
A lot of
maturity.
19-20-year-olds don't even understand that, but those who do, that definitely is a plus.
Right. There's a
What
follow.
sort of qualities are you looking for when you're looking for someone to impress you? So some traits or some sort of
So we talked about it: humility, attitude, positive attitude, and honesty,
teamwork,
interpersonal skills.
And then obviously there's some students or even professionals who've had bad experiences, even though they may have this, but the nervousness may take toll on them or something.
Yeah, so like a bad interview taker, right?
Prove to you in an interview.
So my interview is not an interview; it's a conversation. I talk to them, I let them speak, and I start very casually. I do not take formal interviews at all because I know I was nervous in my first interview, and I still don't understand how I got it.
वही तो सवाल है.
But you know what? World's moved on.
Right.
I think the interview is more of a discussion. I myself like to make the other person comfortable. You know, you always have a smile. You understand that they've come. It's maybe an overwhelming kind of a situation. So I think gone are the times when interviews used to be very strict and formal and scary.
A very obvious questioner and comment is Khalid Khan writes, why am I supposed to do a business? There's a lot of problems and a businessman is always thinking about and afraid about business fail. So why not do the job and live the life simple and fearless?
That's my point.
If you want to do that, you should do that.
What a boring person.
No, not boring person. At least he knows what he wants to do.
Not you.
Yeah, but I agree with
But
him.
if he wants to start if he doesn't want to start a company, it's okay.
So it's perfectly all right.
Yeah, and by the way, a lot of people who start their companies are not afraid of failing. I feel it's okay.
I fail.
I failed.
Yeah.
I've never failed a course, by the way, despite my GPA.
Right. You almost.
Yeah.
Almost. But no, there are lots of different facets and different aspects that we need to talk about. So we're going to wrap this up. And so all the questions that were sent in, obviously the YouTube video is there, and we're also there on Facebook. So you'll be able to go back and see exactly how both the guests have answered them. Obviously, there's no one right answer between whether you should do a startup or whether you should do a job. The consensus always seems to be that try and do a blended experience of both and take what you can from both. But until and unless you either don't do a job or don't take the risk of starting up a company and going on there yourself, you will never know what is right for you. So if you can, up until a certain age in our lives, there's always the opportunity to fail, to experiment, to succeed even, and maybe it is something that you never thought about, but you will never know until and unless you don't try. Any last words that you'd like to?
Just stay honest with yourself. Be open to criticism, because a lot of times we are very defensive and we don't really appreciate it, but that's exactly what we need most of the times to actually progress and be better at what we do.
And be yourself. I think that's one of the most important things. Don't pretend to be something or someone you're not. Just put your best foot forward.
Absolutely, and make sure you're wearing shoes when you put your best foot forward. With the global job market opening up the way it is, it's not just Pakistan or just Karachi or just Islamabad. It is an entire world out there, but take a leap and figure out what is best for you. I'd like to thank our guests, Faiza and Talha. Thank you for being here. And we have a small token of something for you, which we would like to present to you. So here's
Thank you.
courtesy Toffee TV. There was for you and for your twins and for your son. I'd also like to thank the bloggers and the university reps who are here in the studio with us. And I'd also like to give a shout out to Anam Jafri. I don't know if she's been busy blogging because she is kind of an unofficial blogger who helps the Campus Connection digital series and supporting us for all the blogger updates. I would also like to thank all the universities. I know some of you are going through exams or are kind of experiencing downtime. So thank you for keeping your labs open. We sincerely hope that these conversations will continue even within your classes when you try and figure out, and when your career guidance offices also try and figure out what is right for you. And like each of us said, there's no right fit for you until you actually take the leap of faith. There's so many diverse people with such great skill sets. So find out what is right for you. If you are a university and would like to be part of the New Spaces programs, please reach out to us. We'll share the contact details with you. And thank you for joining us on the Campus Connections digital series. On behalf of Talia Zafar and the New Spaces team, this is Rabia Gharib signing out.